out this video, don't forget, like and subscribe. All right, well, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon. And Dave, we got to get on to the rest of the news here because there is plenty of it to get into. Starting with
a ton of news,
it's not an announcement, but very likely starting not in 2025 but 2026, we're probably going to have a 2-night Royal Rumble, and down the road maybe even a 2-night Survivor Series. But it does appear they're moving that direction. They pretty much stated it. More 2-night PLE events.
Yeah, they can get 2 big gates, and split the show. Because one of the things that they could do for these shows is do like a Raw show and a SmackDown show on 2 successive nights for some of these shows, because they're only doing 5 matches. They've got people to where they accept 5-match shows, and you can do a 5-match single brand show, and then get, again, like a lot of these cards, they haven't even been getting even like a large percentage of the top guys.
Well, I would say this. I think the reason that we need a couple of extra 2-night shows
we don't need them, but
listen. You got WrestleMania, okay? You're building up the biggest show of the year. You can get 2 nights worth of matches for WrestleMania.
Oh, easily.
If you're going to do the same thing with SummerSlam, although there's only like 4 months between WrestleMania and SummerSlam, so I don't know if SummerSlam necessarily needs to be a 2-night event, but they're going to make some money, so they're going to do it. But to me,
everything's about making money. So.
To me, the big one is Royal Rumble, because we do not need 2-hour-long Royal Rumbles on a single show.
Yeah.
Total overkill. You should have one night headlined by the men's Royal Rumble, the other night headlined by the women's Royal Rumble, and you only need a couple of other matches, 3-4 matches, because that match is an hour long. The other thing I was thinking was, for Survivor Series, I think I mentioned it here, we don't need a men's and a women's War Games every year. You can have one of the matches be a men's War Games, which is probably going to go an hour, or the women's, it doesn't matter. They go about 45 minutes. One of those, either the men's or the women's, is going to be War Games. And then if the men do War Games, the women have a Survivor Series elimination match. The show's called Survivor Series. It was built on elimination matches. And that way you only have to have 1 War Games match every year as opposed to 2. And then...
I think they're going to have 2 every year. I don't think that one's going to change.
They might have them on
separate shows, but I don't see that one changing. Although, I'll talk more about
It's Survivor Series. We don't even have Survivor Series matches. It's ridiculous.
Because War Games matches are more.
Okay, you have one every year. You still have one every year.
War Games matches are more sexy than Survivor Series matches. That's
but the point is, you're gonna have a War Games every year, but you don't need to have 2.
Well, if they're going to do 2 nights, they're going to do 2. They're not going to do Survivor Series and have one. One of the mentalities there is that you have to have it equal with men and women. So if you have a men's War Games match, you have to have a women's one. Like this year, the men's War Games match, it was like built up for months. The women's thing was just thrown together because you had to have it.
Yeah, and that should have been a Survivor Series eliminator match for the women. It didn't need to be War Games. And then the year after, the women get the War Games and the men get the elimination match. So then it's fair.
Yeah, you could do it that way, but War Games has more of a buzz than Survivor Series matches, and so if you're going to do a 5-on-5, you might as well do a War Games rather than a Survivor Series. You got the cage,
We had multiple injuries.
Yeah, but that should be coming off the top of the cage. You just tell people not to do that. They're going to do what they're going to do, but I don't see them backing off of War Games unless, I'll tell you what will make them decide to back off of War Games is if it doesn't draw. Who knows? That's why they backed off the Survivor Series. It stopped drawing. Then they went back to it when they were hot. It did a little bit better. But Vince stopped Survivor Series because it wasn't drawing. So if War Games stops drawing, Paul will stop doing War Games. And that's what the decisions are made on, what works.
Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful.